How do you find out if you have a tracker on your car? We get asked this question a lot, and I mean a lot, like daily. I am always getting calls from clients who are going through a contentious divorce, or they had a problem at work, or they had a problem with law enforcement, or any other of the numerous concerns that we hear, and the client is worried that they are being tracked. The first thing that most people think about when they think about tracking a vehicle is GPS tracking. But did you know there are many other ways a vehicle can be tracked? Let's cover those other ways really quick so we have a good understanding of exactly what we're looking for when we try to find a tracker on our vehicle. One of the most common ways, besides GPS, is to use Wi-Fi enabled or Bluetooth enabled devices. These are often things like an Apple AirTag or a tile tracker. Most of us are aware of these types of devices. They're usually very small, about the size of a quarter. They vary in color and shape, but are usually going to be square or circular. Now, when it comes to Apple AirTags, Apple has seen how much of a threat this can be. So they have integrated software into their phones that will alert people to the fact that there may be an Apple AirTag close to them. The biggest problem with this, though, is we are often seeing clients who are getting a lot of false positives, if you will, regarding these alerts. You could be driving down the road and you're stopped at a stoplight, and a vehicle around you may have an AirTag on their luggage or something else, and this alert suddenly comes up on your phone. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. And obviously, if you're traveling like via airplane or train or something like that, these alerts can become even more prevalent. So you have to take the alerts with a grain of salt. And that's why you need to know how to look for these things and know what you're looking for. Another very common type of tracker that we've started to see a lot is called an RFID tracking device. RFID uses radio waves to identify and monitor assets. A lot of corporations are starting to use this to keep track of their assets in a particular location. Basically, the reader emits radio signals, and when an RFID tag is within range, it responds with its unique identifying information. One of the big pros to RFID readers is the low power consumption. Passive RFID tags do not require batteries, therefore they have a much longer operational life. One of the biggest cons, though, with RFID readers is the limited range. The RFID readers need to be in fairly close proximity to the RFID tag. Where we are starting to see this type of technology being used is to track a vehicle, is often to see when somebody has left an area or gone in a particular direction. Someone may put an RFID tracker in someone's car, and then they have an RFID reader that is located somewhere outside of the neighborhood. Then, when the vehicle leaves the neighborhood, the RFID reader alerts the person who put the tracker on the vehicle that the vehicle has left the area. Now, this is newer technology and it is not widespread in use yet, but we could expect in the near future this technology to be used even more to track someone's movements. The most common type of vehicle trackers that we know of is the GPS or Global Positioning System tracking device. GPS trackers are very accurate in finding the position of where the tracker or where the vehicle is anywhere on the planet. These trackers work by using a network of satellites that are orbiting the Earth, which are continuously transmitting signals. Many of them are also talking with Wi-Fi towers, cell phone towers, and other types of communication antennas out there, so they are very accurate in how they can triangulate and locate the location of that tracking device. So now we know what we're looking for. Let's discuss how we can find these tracking devices on our cars. The first thing we should discuss are all of these devices that you can buy online that advertise themselves as bug detectors or tracker detectors. The biggest problem with these devices is how they are marketed to the consumer. They are essentially marketed in a way where they practically promise that they will find the tracker on your vehicle or the bug in your house. But in actuality, what these devices really are is what they call a simple RF detector. An RF detector basically just detects or identifies if there are radio frequencies in the area. The problem with that, though, is that right now, you, me, everyone, all of us are being bombarded with radio frequency signals all the time, everywhere we go. Another inherent problem with these RF detectors is they cannot tell you the proximity of where that RF signal is coming from. Most of them, you can turn the sensitivity down, and this does help a little bit in trying to identify the location of where the signal is coming from, but it does not have the ability to tell if it is a reflective RF signal. And therein lies the biggest problem with these cheap RF detectors. Most of them, they detect what is called reflective radio frequency signals. Based on my experience, I highly recommend you do not waste your money trying to buy one of these devices, hoping that it will find the tracking device or the recording device that you are suspicious about being in your vehicle or in your house. The best way to find a GPS tracker or a Wi-Fi tracker or a Bluetooth tracker or an RFID tracker or any other tracker without using professional TSCM equipment is to do a complete and thorough search of your vehicle. There are several tools you can use to help you while doing this. I usually recommend a good inspection mirror, inspection camera, and a good quality flashlight to do these inspections. If you go to my website, www.howtobeapi.com, I have several pieces of equipment to include inspection mirrors, cameras, flashlights, gloves, things like that you may consider purchasing to do these vehicle inspections. Now, to start the process, we will start on the outside of the vehicle. You need to take that inspection mirror and look up in each of the wheel wells of the vehicle. You can use the flashlight to shine on the mirror or up into the area to help lighten up those darker spots. You also want to look back behind the bumpers and inside the back of the bumpers and look at any of the framework underneath the vehicle that you can see. One of the most common types of tracking devices that we see today are the tile trackers and Apple AirTag tracking devices. If one of these are being used and it's black, and the person that installs it uses black commercial double-sided tape, they can stick that up under the wheel well or on the inside of the back of a bumper or anywhere else underneath the car, and it is very difficult to see. That is where using your hands as parts of your physical inspection is important. I suggest using good mechanics gloves so you can rub all of the areas and feel for anything that is just stuck anywhere. I suggest good mechanics gloves because they are thin enough that you can still feel things through them. But they're also made of material that will help protect your hands and they will help keep your hands clean. After you've gone through this with your inspection mirror and camera, walking around the car, looking in all these spaces and places, I suggest you get underneath the vehicle and do a full examination using your flashlight and your hands, looking at everything. Now be very cautious. Make sure you do not try to remove things from the vehicle that belong to the vehicle. If you see something that you are suspicious about but you are not sure, then you may want to consult a mechanic or a car dealership to see if that is something that belongs on your vehicle. Now let's start with the interior of the vehicle. The first thing you want to do inside the vehicle is remove everything from every compartment inside the vehicle. This includes the glove box. This includes the center console box, the storage areas inside the doors, and everywhere that you can find that has a compartment where something could be hidden inside this vehicle. Take everything out of each of these compartments and inspect everything in great detail. Do you recognize it? Did you put it there? Do you know what it is? If it is not something that you recognize, then you might just want to get rid of it. You can inspect each of these to see if they look like some type of a tracking device too. Many times though, they may be something that somebody else put in the car a long time ago or something that you just completely forgot about. It is best to just remove them so nothing can be introduced into that storage space that will be hidden because there's lots of junk in there. Now what you need to do is pull out all of the floor mats in the vehicle. When doing this, you want to look underneath the floor mat and see if anything has been placed there. It is very common to take a tile tracker or an Apple AirTag and just set it underneath the floor mat. Now you also want to take your flashlight and possibly a small inspection mirror or a small inspection camera and look up underneath all of the seats. The bottom of almost all vehicle seats usually has some type of a metal plate there. A GPS tracker with a magnet on it can easily be installed on the bottom side of one of those seats. As well, a tile tracker or an Apple AirTag tracker could easily be installed on the bottom side of those seats with double-sided tape. While you're inspecting the inside, you also want to take your flashlight and look into every vent. Make sure nothing was pushed down into one of those vents. We have found devices like tile trackers and Apple AirTags that have been shoved down into a heating vent. The batteries on these devices are very good and they can run for months, if not years. You also want to go to the rear of the inside of the vehicle and you want to look in all the storage areas there as well. Open up that back end where the spare tire would go and pull the spare tire out and the jack and everything else and inspect everything there. Another good place in a vehicle is under the headrests of the seats. These are usually adjustable, but are usually all the time down. Pull them up and make sure nothing was set underneath. If the vehicle has car seat covers, you will want to take those covers off as well and make sure nothing has been attached or is lying on the seat under the cover. You also want to do a full inspection under the hood of the vehicle. Using your inspection cameras, your flashlights, your hands, look in every nook and cranny and make sure nothing has been placed under the hood of your vehicle. Again, be careful to not try to detach something from your vehicle that actually belongs to your vehicle. If you see something you're not sure about, but are suspicious about, consult a mechanic or a dealership to see if it is something that belongs there. While you are looking there, you also want to look at the fuse block. See if anything has manually been wired into the fuse block. Now, keep in mind, you have multiple fuse blocks on most vehicles. There could be a fuse block that's in the back end of your vehicle. There could be one that's up underneath the dash of your vehicle or over by the glove box of your vehicle. And there's often one that's under the hood too. Now, while you're looking up under the dash on the driver's side, you will want to check what they call the OBD2 port. OBD stands for On-Board Diagnostic. This is the port where a mechanic can plug in a computer to get codes and information from the vehicle. A real common type of tracker, though, will plug into the OBD2 port. This allows that tracker to use the power of the vehicle to power itself. So when the car is off, the tracker is off. And when the car is on, the tracker is on. Again, if there's something plugged in there and you're not sure whether it belongs there or not, consult a certified mechanic or your car dealership before you detach anything from your vehicle. Now, after you have inspected your vehicle, if you have found any devices, you will want to remove them. Or if you found no devices, then you can consider your vehicle as being clear or clean of any tracking devices. Now you need to take precautions to make sure nothing can be installed on your vehicle in the future. The best way to do this is to ensure that you park your vehicle in a garage whenever possible. Obviously, you can't keep your car in a garage all the time as you need to be going out in public. So I highly suggest to keep a checklist of things to check. So if you ever get suspicious in the future, you have that checklist handy and you can quickly do a quick inspection of your vehicle. On average, it should take you about 1 to 2 hours to fully inspect a vehicle. Once you have done this a time or two, that will shorten, but doing it often can help alleviate some of those suspicions and concerns and leave you with peace of mind so you can go about your day-to-day business.